I was not going to film today. It was not my schedule. I have so many things to do, but I was researching this case and it got to be surprise after surprise after surprise that I was like, I have to pause literally my entire life and get on here and film this immediately. We're jumping straight into it. There is no time for an intro. June 10th, 1994, a 13-year-old boy, Nicholas Barkley, disappeared without a trace in San Antonio, Texas. He went to go play basketball with his friends, never came home. Nicholas was raised by a single mom. They lived in a trailer park. Sweet boy, but definitely had an attitude. The older that he got, the sassier that he got. By the time that he was 13, he'd gotten in trouble with the law. Definitely a little bit of a rebel, and the police would often go to their home because of arguments between Nicholas and his mom. Nicholas also has a half-brother named Jason. So the day that he goes missing, he goes to a nearby court to play basketball with his friends. He needs a ride home. He calls home. The mom is sleeping, so Jason answers the phone. He's like, you know what, mom's already asleep, just walk home. It was around 1.5 miles away. He never makes it home, but because he had been rebelling a little bit, the family doesn't freak out at first, so they don't report him missing until after 3 days. Weeks pass without any leads, any information, any signs of where Nicholas could have gone, but the police are still in contact with the family because they're still getting called to go out to the house because Jason and the mother frequently have arguments. 3 months after Nicholas is missing, Jason, the half-brother, calls the police and says that Nicholas stopped by. He saw him trying to break into the garage, and when Jason went out there to go get him, Nicholas ran away. That call from Jason to the police was the only sighting of Nicholas since he went missing, the only lead, I guess, that they had. 3 years go by, and on October 7th, 1997, the police get a call from authorities 5,000 miles away in Spain. The authorities in Spain say that they got a call from a tourist couple, wife and a husband, saying that they found a young boy lost between 14 and 15 years old. He looked confused, he didn't have an ID, he didn't know who he was, and he was really scared. The police go to pick up the boy. They bring him to the station. They start asking him questions. He doesn't know anything. He seems really freaked out. He doesn't know his name. He doesn't know his parents. He doesn't even know where he's from. After questioning him for a little bit, the boy says that he is from America, but he can't remember where exactly he's from. He said that he had been kidnapped in America and forced into human in Europe, which is obviously a very serious statement. So the police feel really bad for this kid that's so confused and scared and lost, so they let him sleep in their offices for the night. A few hours later, someone from the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children gets a call from the police station saying that they found a boy around 15 to 16 years old and that he doesn't know who he is. The police give the woman on the phone a description, and the woman is looking through files and says, oh, you know what, this kid is missing. He kind of looks like the guy that you're describing. Maybe his name is Nicholas Barkley. So the police ask the woman on the phone to fax over a picture. The picture gets there and it does look like it's Nicholas. So the police confirm that the boy that they have in their station is Nicholas. Immediately, the woman calls Nicholas' family in the United States and they say that they have found Nicholas and they need someone from his family to fly to Spain to confirm that it really is him. Nicholas's half-sister, her name is Carrie, she flies to Spain to confirm that it really is him and to bring him home. She gets to the U.S. Embassy. She immediately runs up to Nicholas, hugs him tight, touches his nose and says, I remember this nose. You look so much like Uncle Pat. And she notices that he seems really freaked out. He's not talking very much, being really quiet, but obviously he's been missing for years. So she just assumes that he probably went through something traumatic and just leaves it at that. After she hugs him, she pulls out a photo album to help him remember who his family is. And she starts pointing out all the people on the album. And it's like, this is mom, this is our uncle, this is our cousin, trying to get him to remember. So Carrie knew that it was Nicholas, but the Spanish government wouldn't let him leave the country until they had definite proof. She flew there and said it looked like him, but something about him was kind of off, so they decided they were going to do separate interviews with Carrie and Nicholas. In the interview with Nicholas, they show him pictures of 5 family members and they ask him to say who they are. He answers mostly all of them correctly, and then they pretty much just confirmed that he was a U.S. citizen and gave him a passport to fly back to Texas. When they land, his entire family is at the airport except for his half-brother Jason, and they're so excited to see him. Obviously, he's been missing. He's back now. They never expected him to come back. The mom says and notices that he's acting a little weird, but again, just justifies it by dealing with the fact that he was probably in a really traumatic situation and he's getting overwhelmed with seeing everyone again for the first time in years, so she lets it go. He then ends up moving in with Carrie, her whole family. She has a husband and kids, and he's being very strange, very distant. And the reason why he's being like that is because he's not really Nicholas. The person living with Carrie, with her husband, with her children, is not Nicholas. He's actually a French man who is 23 years old, not 16, and his name is Frederick Borden. I think that's how you say his last name. You may be wondering, how did he pull it off? I'll tell you. The night that he was found, he slept at the police station, because the cops felt really bad for him. He's supposed to be sleeping, relaxing. What he's really doing all night is calling news stations, saying a very general description of, I guess, what he thinks that he looks like, trying to see if there are any missing children that look like him. Someone from the news station tells him that he may have better luck calling the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. So he calls them. He pretends to be the cops, and again is describing sort of what he looks like, asking if there are any missing kids that look like that. Finally, the woman on the phone says, "Oh, you know what? I think you may be talking about Nicholas." And he asks her to fax over a picture of Nicholas because obviously he wanted to see the picture of Nicholas to see if he could pull off pretend to be him. He sees the picture of Nicholas and is like, perfect, I can pretend that I'm him. But the picture was in black and white. So what he didn't know is after he was pretending to be the cops and confirmed that he was Nicholas, he saw a colored picture, not black and white. And he was like, oh, because Nicholas has blonde hair and blue eyes and Frederick has brown hair and brown eyes. After he saw that he had blonde hair, he also bleached his hair. I guess he thought that that would work, and I guess it did because he got a passport in Spain and was sent home and moved in with Carrie. So again, he had seen the whole family. Everyone was excited to see him except for Jason, the half-brother. He's getting all settled in, right? He's going to school, he's making friends, whatever. When Jason finally meets him, he gives him a weird look, and Frederick later says that when they made eye contact for the first time, he could tell that Jason didn't believe him, but it almost seemed like he was just playing along. In the eyes of the FBI, Frederick had said, well, now I'm going to start calling him Frederick because that's his name, but he's still pretending to be Nicholas. He had said that he had been in Spain. The FBI, like, you were apparently taken to be part of this scheme from Texas to Spain. If this is happening, we need to know. So November 4th, 1997, an FBI agent, her name is Nancy Fisher, talks to Nicholas Frederick. And immediately Nancy is suspicious because he didn't look like he was 16 at all. He had facial hair and his hair was bleach blonde, but his facial hair was really thick and really dark. But his hair on his head was blonde. Nancy's trying to get more information out of him and she's questioning him. Frederick tells Nancy that he was abducted by someone in the military. He was put in a van, flown overseas, and kept in a dark room with a bunch of kids. He went into detail of how they were mistreated, he said that they broke his hands with a baseball bat, that they fed him insects to eat, they were tortured, they broke his fingers, like all this detailed information about violent stuff that he went through. He said he was experimented on, specifically that these people, these men that were keeping these children were experimenting with needles in their eyes. He said their goal was to change their identity because obviously they stole these kids. They don't want anyone to know who they are, so they would try and change their hair color. They would try and change their eye color. He said he one day just saw a door that was left open and ran away and escaped. That's when he said was the first time that he discovered that he was in Spain. Also, by the way, he was actually the one when the police got a call from a tourist couple that they found a kid that was lost and confused. Frederick was pretending to be a couple that found the boy, but he just wanted the police to come and find him. After this interview, the FBI agent Nancy said she was horrified. He was going into detail about torture that was done to children, and she said a normal person doesn't lie about details of this kind of torture. This person had either been a victim before or was a fantastic actor. She just wasn't sure which one. At this point in time, Frederick still thinks that he has convinced everyone because his whole family is loving him. They are taking care of him. They are pretending like he really is Nicholas. So He was like, I'm doing such a good job. I'm going to get away with this. Everything's going to be fine. Because of how crazy this story was, it was all over the news. A private investigator, Charlie Parker, got involved. A TV producer contacted Charlie, the investigator, because they wanted him to find Nicholas, because they wanted an interview with him. They go to meet Charlie. They met at a diner, and Charlie notices a picture behind the booth that they sat at of Nicholas's missing picture of when he was a kid. And then fake Nicholas is sitting in the booth across from him, so he can kind of see him and the flyer like right next to each other, and he's just looking at that. They look not like that. There's no way this is Nicholas. He looks nothing like the guy in the flyer, and also he has brown eyes and Nicholas has blue eyes. He also noticed that fake Nicholas was only speaking with a French accent. Charlie calls Nancy immediately, and Nancy couldn't really believe it. She starts thinking about it more in detail, and she's like, you know what? When he was saying all these stories about the torture and what he went through, he didn't give any details. He didn't say any names. He didn't say any dates. It was just a very general story of just him being tortured. So Nancy and Charlie are suspicious. Nancy decides that she needs to tell his family that she needs to take him to Texas Children's Hospital in Houston to deal with the trauma. When they get to the hospital, fake Nicholas starts talking to Dr. Bruce. Dr. Bruce notices red flags straight away because he couldn't speak English without an accent, a French accent. He says that children that were raised in a English-speaking household and they've grown up their entire life only knowing and hearing English, and then to not be able to speak it without an accent 9 to 10 years later is just not possible. He calls Nancy, the FBI agent, immediately. Nancy calls Carrie, the sister, tells her what the doctor says, and says, he just confirmed that there's no way this could be Nicholas and there's no way that he could be American. This could be a very dangerous person. Do not be at the airport when we come back. When Nancy tells Carrie this, Carrie's like, oh my God, and she starts screaming. However, when they land from Houston, Carrie is at the airport and they're just pretending as if Nancy didn't just call and say that this wasn't Nicholas. Like, they literally hug him immediately and then take him home. Finally, Nancy decides, let's just get this over with. Let's take a DNA test. So she wants a DNA test between fake Nicholas and his mom. But when they asked the mom absolutely refused. She literally laid on the ground and was like, I'm not going to do it. You can't make me. I'm not getting up. I know that this is my son. I don't need proof, so I'm not giving you my DNA. I take notes for the cases, and the next line that I have written literally just says, what the f- is going on? So the FBI and the investigator are very suspicious, and by this point, Frederick himself is even confused because he's like, why is his family so sure that it's me? Like, the FBI is onto him, the investigator is onto him. Why is the family so convinced that this is me? It's not funny, but it kind of is. It's not. Then Frederick is now like, should I be scared? He thinks back specifically to when he first saw Carrie at the airport, and Carrie touched his nose and was like, I remember this nose. You look so much like Uncle Pat. And immediately she pulls out the photo album and is showing him pictures of the family. It almost felt like she was helping him study. So he starts thinking, is there a bigger lie? Like, he thought that he was lying to the family, but now this like weird tension of like, you know that I know and I know that you know. So he's spooked. He thinks that something else is going on, something bigger. Investigator Charlie starts peeling the layers back, trying to figure out what's going on. He looks into the police report from when Jason called and said that after Nicholas was missing, he saw Nicholas trying to break into the garage, but he sees on the report that there's no evidence that he was actually there. Like, nobody really saw him, only Jason. So he's thinking, why would Jason call and say that he saw him if he didn't really see him? Maybe because he wanted everyone to think that a missing person was still alive. But what if he wasn't? All the family members showed up at the airport when Nicholas was found except for Jason. And when he finally saw Jason, Jason was acting suspicious as if he knew that he wasn't really Nicholas, but he still just played along with it. Frederick starts thinking about that too. He's like, why are they so sure that it's me when they know that it's not me, when the FBI has literally told them that it's not me? So he thinks, and everyone sort of thinks, but no one talks about it, that Jason killed Nicholas, and this is why they are pretending that this guy could really be him, because that would mean that they would cover up the murder. They do end up getting the DNA. So March 3rd, 1998, after 5 months of Frederick pretending to be Nicholas, all cards are on the table. The lie is over. It's confirmed that he is actually a 23-year-old French man named Frederick Bourdon. And he's wanted by the police. He's wanted by the police because he is referred to as the chameleon. Apparently, stealing identities was his thing. He had stolen over 500 identities. This was also his third time assuming the identity of a missing child. It feels like he just wanted to be a child so bad, because all the identities that he tried to steal were children 13 to 16 years old when he was actually 23. So he weirdly had like almost like a fetish for trying to be a missing young kid. He obviously went to court. He pled guilty and was sentenced to 6 years in prison, but soon after he was released, he was back in France and he stole the identity of a 14-year-old missing French boy that had been missing since 1996. Keep in mind, this is after he has already gone to prison for this and he has been released. In 2004, he did it again in Spain. In 2005, he did it again, said that he was a Spanish orphan. In 2007, he actually got married and had 5 kids. 2017, he was divorced, and a year later, he stole someone's identity again. So he's just a mess, and actually so creepy, because I don't even know what has to go in your brain to want to do that and put that much effort into doing that after you've already been to prison for it. But back to Nicholas's family. I mean, he was missing. He was never found. It's been over 30 years and no one was ever charged. And people suspected that Jason, his brother, was the one that did something to him and probably killed him. But 2 months after Frederick was arrested, Jason died of a overdose. So we'll never really know. This case seems like a movie. It's crazy. I was reading it and I just couldn't believe anything, and I want to know what you guys think. This was a long one, but I had to get all the details in it because it just makes it that much more crazier. All right, anyway, I have to go do work now. Bye.